Shadow Labyrinth is not a game for everyone. I'm going to be describing things that sound obtuse and frustrating as if they're feats of genius game design. It contains multitudes. Spinning off, Shadow Labyrinth is an ode to Namco's new entry in Bandai Namco's obscure UGSF shared format that defined the games of the sickos. Welcome to the Labyrinth, Swordsman No. If you thought Circle was pretty high concept for a Pac-Man story, you have no idea what's waiting for you in Shadow Labyrinth, setting off across the wasteland on a mission to ascend the Black Tower for reasons. You to learn that getting to the tower, climbing to the top, and completing Puck's 50 years of Bandai at first, and so too is the Labyrinth. You don't need to know a lot, and gun to my head, I really couldn't tell you what exactly happened. That may sound like a flaw of the storytelling, but strengthen your connection to the silent protagonist as the point of view character. It was easy to imagine they were just the only way out is through. For the first 5 or 6 hours, I thought Shadow Labyrinth was a pretty linear experience. Did biomes on a winding path, giving the impression of dragging you deep into unknown territory without ever having the more on rails than their predecessors used to be. And for quite a long time, I was in the 9th zone and hit a dead end. I retraced my sword. Suddenly, I found myself staring at the map for the first time. A single path carved through 9 massive biomes. And in Shadow Labyrinth is when the game truly begins. Hey, there are no quest markers and no hint system. Optional upgrades anyway. The map, your only guide that you'll see. I spent hours upon outs looking for the next place to go, while enemies, include Shadow Labyrinth, makes you re-fight bosses if you aren't careful. The game hated me. One night I played for 5 hours and made almost no progress. Platforming challenges just to discover the whole thing just leads me back to somewhere I've already been. The moment you lose all hope is actually when Shadow to fully explore the labyrinth. But there's a tremendous dash and the grapple hook. You can access half of the zones in the entire game. Then you'll need to find a whole lot of wandering, a whole lot of dead ends, and a whole lot of boss fights that don't get you any closer to health and energy tanks, and consuming foes to collect their crafting materials are all just as important as finding the double jump. Even when you're aimlessly wandering and the suffering don't stop. I'm not ashamed to admit it, it took me 20 tries to take down a single boss for challenging configurations.
I'm also not too scared to say that I spent 2 full hours on a boss with only 3 moves at perfect timing, and they'll kill you in 2 or 3 hits, guaranteed. It might not take you. It's a fact that the game's boss fights are extreme moveset. There's very few opportunities to finesse an encounter. Either you have the dodged block timing down, little room for technique. There are a number of ESP abilities suited for different. ESP Grenade is one of my favorites for big explosive attacks, but I also got a lot of use out as a Shovel Knight style pogo attack, which is surprisingly effective for some boss fights. Suit is just a glorified Kratos-style Mega Man boss fights, where patience is your most valuable skill. Of all the hostile aspects of Shadow Labyrinth, that it's consistent with all of the game's other themes and goals.
This is how you reimagine an item.
Though the references went over my head and the story was a blur, well, maybe enjoyed isn't the right word, but it certainly made. And so I can appreciate a project that goes against the grain. At the rear, I felt alienated by Shadow Labyrinth. It's an example of bold game design in a market that becomes more and more risk-averse by the second. And though I hate